What's up, everybody? Welcome to Politics on the Rocks, episode 12. It's half of a... That's a dozen. Not half of a dozen. That's a dozen. That was Mine, All Mine by Colton Moore and the Clever Few. It's a good song. That was Cameron's request tonight. That was a very good song.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I'm your host, Nick, and Chris is... actually have some bad news. We'll talk about it in just a second, but we have Bookie here.
Hello.
And Cameron.
Hey, what's up, guys? Oh, a little special guest action. We got Larceny from John Fitzgerald. This is good. It's a wheated bourbon, similar to like a Weller's or a Pappy.
Pappy, yeah.
Yeah. It's really good. It's the one that you can find. You know,
This asshole. He always
this guy.
does that.
This guy. Oh, good stuff though. I'm really enjoying it.
Yep. Yeah. Here's the first sip, so.
Like he opened it for no reason. I already poured him a glass. What a guy.
Thank you. I didn't realize that.
Being obnoxious, huh?
Oh, man, that's good stuff.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. So Chris was actually hit by a car. Car hopped that corner on 58th, and yeah. So keep him in your prayers. No, I'm just kidding, guys. He's fine. He's just he's out. He's out again this week. So we're doing something a little different this week. We're just gonna we're doing it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live. We have no script. We have no topic set up beforehand. We have done no research on anything that we will talk about tonight.
We have no life.
Yep, that too.
And that's why we're doing this.
Yeah. Well, that's why we get together every week and do a 2-hour-long podcast.
No, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Chris, you'll be missed.
You will be. You have been, and you will continue to be missed until you're back, buddy. Yeah. So, what's up, man? How's everyone's week going? Oh yeah, we're also a little late. I mean, the episode. Oh wait. Oh no, Wednesday morning, right?
They won't know a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is Monday.
Right? Monday night.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna fucking wing it as we do with most everything else in our life.
Yeah. Well, it's weird times. I mean,
I'm gonna reach across the table and punch you. What a time to be alive. It's like the like sub. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. I feel like it's the theme of like
Oh yeah.
the last 2 years.
Yeah. It's a weird time.
A weird time to be alive.
A weird time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the conversation, right? People like,
Yeah, I feel like just shit is just so crazy that no one knows what else to say. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, everything's so polarized at this point that, you know, if you meet somebody that, you know, you might not really know that well, it's like, obviously you don't want to like be so up front and brunt with whatever opinions you have. Well,
I was about to say I thought you always.
Yeah, no, I'm saying for most people, I feel like, you know, you get someone that, you know, it's like you're not really sure how to approach it, so you just kind of drop that and then let that, you know.
Yeah. You feel them out.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, they're like just super upfront and blunt with their opinions. So, yeah, it's crazy. Did you see that expose that Fauci and his federal agency spent $424,000 in like really harsh experiments on beagles?
Yeah, the beagle thing.
Yeah, dude.
That's interesting. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, let's see how many human rights and animal rights activists step up and make a stance on that one.
What were they trying to find out? Like how long of a metal bar you can fit through a beagle's asshole?
Oh my God. Boogie has a thing for assholes, if you guys couldn't tell.
I don't understand what was going on there.
And why specifically beagles?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
The Biden thing he was doing, or the Fauci thing.
No, I know, but why? I mean,
yeah, it wasn't like why beagles. It was like very specific.
Why not
beagles.
Chihuahuas?
I don't know. We have to ask Fauci.
Yeah.
Why a metal rod? Why not a plastic one?
Yeah. I don't know.
The National Institute of Health spent $425,000 on a study involving the abuse of dogs. The NIH department that is specifically under the leadership of Dr. Anthony Fauci funded this experiment, and it commissioned a study in which healthy beagles are given an experimental drug and then intentionally infested with flies that carry a disease-causing parasites that affects humans.
Good people.
It almost sounds like what they did with the African-American group of men.
Oh, the
Tuskegee, yeah.
Tuskegee, yeah. Dang.
What's worse is that this is all completely unnecessary, the group reports. Experimenters admit that experimenters admitted this this investigational drug has been extensively tested and confirmed in different animal models such as mice, Mongolian gerbils, and rhesus macacus. Moreover, this isn't even the NIH's first cruel experiment on beagles. What the fuck has NIH got against beagles, dude? God. In 2016, the White Coat Waste Project reported that Dr. Fauci's division was using tax dollars to buy beagle puppies and strapping capsules full of infected flies to their bare skin. More than 1,100 beagles, hounds, and mixed breed dogs, even puppies, were subjected to experiments in government laboratories operated by the Department of Veteran Affairs, Department of Defense, Food and Drug Administration, National Institute of Health, and the CDC. All the people that you trust.
So
all the people that you're getting your information from, and that's telling you, there's no nefarious acts going on with whatever they're doing.
So his latest beagle offense, they're testing a drug.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So like the scientists are like sitting down having their morning coffee.
Yeah, let me go back and read.
They're going over their whiteboard of like, all right, so this drug's been tested pretty thoroughly, huh, guys? And the guy like raises his hand in the bag. He's like, "Have we tested on beagles yet?" like, God damn it, Jim, we fucking haven't.
And according to the expose, all the beagles will be euthanized at the end of this ongoing. Oh, so it's ongoing. Wow. Nice. Morality aside, the White Coat Waste Project also argues that this experiment wasn't scientific. Oh, I read that already. Yeah, Yeah, it sounds like they were doing tests on some sort of drug, but it also sounds like the drug was already, kind of established. Yeah.
So there's just something with beagles in that place. They really don't fucking like beagles.
I personally love beagles. I think they're pretty cool dogs.
Yeah, I think all dogs mostly are pretty cool.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with the left. Right?
No one's going to be talking about it in 3 weeks.
It's going to be
2 weeks.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, like, there's been so many different situations where you thought they maybe would be more, like, critical.
Yeah, take a stance.
And like the fact that now all we care about is supporting pharmaceutical companies that release whatever.
Yeah.
And they're always right. No question them.
Yep.
And then also like, Chris brought up last week about, 2 weeks ago about women and choice and what to do with their bodies, but and now let's see what Peter does here.
Yeah. Well, it's like they some of the crazy lefties, they're so vocal and not afraid to take a stance when it comes to most things inside of the country, right? Like against the voter fraud or the voter ID stuff that Georgia did. Everyone was like, the MLB pulled out and, the left was cheering them on and, a couple other companies did similar things. But it's like, I know all of us listened to that episode with Yeonmi Park.
Yeah.
On Joe Rogan. And
I think a lot of people did, man.
If you haven't,
yeah.
If you've never listened to a Joe Rogan episode and there's only one that you'll listen to, that's like that is pretty close up there with like one of the ones that you should listen to. Either that one and the one with Brett and the two doctors, Brett Weinstein and the other one. But yeah, and then you have like Hulu, for example, and this is me basically quoting Yeonmi. She was talking about how Americans only care about certain social issues when it's kind of beneficial to them.
Yeah.
Or, they have some sort of, status to gain from it. Mm-hmm. For example, Hulu, they had this huge docuseries, whatever it was, about China and their involvement with, North Korea and how horrible the conditions actually are in North Korea.
Yeah.
And when Disney bought Hulu, Disney forced them to remove it because Disney has a lot of relationship with China.
Right.
And it's like, where's the outrage when it comes to that kind of thing? You want to talk about oppression and human rights violations in America. Well, what about, the actual human... And I'm not saying that there aren't human rights violations in America. Like the fact that I can't go out and buy an M203 semi-automatic grenade launcher is a human rights violation in my eyes. But, you have serious human rights violations where, she talks about, by the age of 13 years old.
Just tell everybody what she is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So if you don't know, Yeonmi Park, at the age of 13, she escaped North Korea, and it was like a 4-year-long journey once she actually got out of North Korea to truly be free. And, just hearing some of her firsthand stories and the things that she went through and the things she experienced, seen done to her mother, it's pretty fucking... I always knew the conditions in North Korea were insane, but listening to her stories, your brain can't almost comprehend how bad it actually is and how large scale it is, So yeah, anyway, she talks about a lot of her experiences, and it's really eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of talking about that in the sense of the left, or people on the left, or even on the far left, kind of are they going to say anything about it, or are they going to even bring it up or recognize it? But like you said, and many other people said too, the left, and I would say even the right too. Almost everybody, it's a human flaw. Everybody's hypocrites, really. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where, if it doesn't align with what they want, or it doesn't push the agenda they want, or it doesn't, if it's not convenient enough, then they don't really give a two fucks about it.
Yeah, the only reason I completely agree, it is both sides. The only reason I said the left was, situation, circumstantial,
because it aligns more with what they...
Right, yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Just whenever we can, kick the right down, I like to do that too.
No, trust me, I love to as well. But yeah, so...
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about that. Even with their virtue signaling stuff, where it's imagine this situation where Trump did get elected. Yeah. And I kind of brought this up, I think, before. But and the vaccine comes out, and you guys all seen the videos of Biden and all these other
condemning the
vaccine.
It's rushed. It's this. It's that.
Yeah. Who's gonna trust it? Blah 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 blah. And it's all these people who are sort of virtue signaling on their side will be doing the complete opposite thing if the tables were turned.
Right. And you've seen that in a matter of 4 or 5 months, right?
Yeah. And I don't care what anybody says. That is exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
So it's
unless you're an anarchist libertarian, then you're just super fucking consistent.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my point exactly. But, no, but and joking aside, the difference is that either you're principled in your belief, regardless of what changes, or you're just a coney or whatever. You just go with the flow of whatever your side says is right.
Yeah. And I think that's that. I think that is what voting has become. That's why I don't vote. I think it's so stupid. It's just an endless cycle of one side getting feeling like they're getting shafted, while the other side feels like they're winning. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward another 4 years, same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to segue into. Did you you wanted to say something?
I did.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
This is a no script episode. We're just shooting the shit.
The no script. What was I going to say? I was just saying about... You're talking about the vaccine. Oh, I was listening to something today, a podcast, and they brought up a point that you guys might have thought of, but for whatever reason I did not think of. That, why is, all of a sudden all these COVID passports are kind of being pushed now in a lot of bigger cities. The vaccine's being pushed a lot more now. Oh, that's what I meant, vaccine passports. So the vaccine's being pushed a lot now. And, one thing they brought up, besides the things that we typically think of, is now that the, Democrats are in power, they don't want to have the death toll that Trump did, right? So now that they have the vaccine and they're in power, that's why they're for it. Because they don't want the deaths to pile up like it did on Trump. So they can say, hey, we're better than that.
Yeah.
And they also don't want to lock, I would assume that most Democrats don't want to lock down again. There's probably some fringe ones that, we unfortunately hear about all the time. But for the most part, like, they know if the economy gets hit again, it looks bad on them.
Yeah.
Like, they're not complete idiots when it comes to this stuff. So
except they just signed a $1.3 trillion infrastructure
yeah, well, I mean,
bill. But yeah,
they'll be dead by the time that comes about.
Yeah, true. Yeah, our kids will be paying for that.
Yeah, Pelosi will be alive still, but
they don't know how, but she will be.
Vampire woman.
No, it just made sense where, like, now that they're in power, the Democrats, this vaccine is like their ticket to keeping the economy from not completely collapsing again from lockdowns and from keeping people from dying, because now if they're out and about, they can have a vaccine that supposedly, like we talked about before, not fully, but will help them out.
Yeah.
So it was, I don't know, I never thought about that and why they push it so hard, but it was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Think about it at least.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy because, I probably, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably against any sort of lockdown, and you're probably already pretty critical and skeptical of the government. But if you're not, if you're, somebody that's given this a shot, and or even if you just like hearing other opinions and you have, you don't even believe us at all, or believe what we believe at all. If you still don't think that all of these air quotes temporary restrictions and regulations and pretty much anything regarding COVID is actually, if you still think it's actually about the virus and keeping people safe, I feel like looking at Australia is like one of the best examples of just seeing it for what it is, right? From October to July, there's been 9 deaths, and they almost can't even leave their houses right now.
They're a complete lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's weird.
That's so crazy about
that. That's 8 months, 9 deaths. It's less than a death a month.
That's insane.
Right? October
it's
to July.
Australia, so more people probably died from alcoholism than COVID.
Or some creature that is poisonous or...
it's
crazy.
I know, it's just... And, like, there's, like, military in the streets keeping people...
And like, there's absolutely no way to justify that.
No.
That's insane.
It's like, man, only if they had guns.
Right?
Oh, wait, they gave them up in the 90s.
You mean the people sold their tin cans strapped together? Have you seen those pictures?
Yeah.
They like sold like fake guns and the government still gave them money for it?
Yeah, hey, I have... I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this. Yeah, I have a guide on, this is purely for educational purposes. I'm not advocating building illegal guns. Yes, I am. But anytime there's a buyback, a couple of the pages I follow, they always post up this thing about how to make a homemade gun for like less than like $20, and then you can take it to the buyback and get. Yeah, they normally do like $200, no questions asked. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah,
my God.
That's funny. I actually see a lot of people that do it. It's pretty funny.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Did you guys see that new thing that the iPhone is doing, where it actively scans your photo gallery to look for?
Yeah, dude, I heard.
Is that a thing that's like happening right now, or is it going to happen?
It's going to happen, I believe. I don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think that they've like rolled it out, like implemented it yet. But
and it's sad because iPhone used to be really good.
About privacy,
stuff.
right?
Yeah. And now I don't know what happened, but now it seems like they're not so good.
Yeah, and I got a lot of shit for being skeptical of this because, it's like the thing we always, we bring up a lot. Like, for example, the Patriot Act. How could you be against the Patriot Act?
Right.
It's patriotic, right? It's something that will protect us. Mm-hmm. Same thing with this. They package it up to, and I'm sure that's what the, as of right now, the intended use for it is, and I can get behind, most things that. Or I shouldn't say most things. I'll get behind anything that will slow down or stop human trafficking, especially, when it comes to children and the sex trade and things like that. The only problem is, and I know we hammer this point on probably every episode we've ever had, it's like, great, that's what it's being used for under the current regime.
Right now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. What happens when somebody takes over, Apple that isn't so concerned with keeping your data safe as, we've seen in the past with Apple?
Right.
And not only that, how can they use that and implement that in a way that is not for its intended purpose?
Yeah.
Like, I could very easily see that turning into, Apple's, whatever they decide to name this software that, actively scans your photo gallery. Apple, I could see this, I could close my eyes and see this, reading this headline. Apple uses, insert software name here to seek out extremist content.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's like, you don't like Apple? Go and build your own smartphone. It's like that, that's like the Beltway libertarian, that their critique of, being critical of any, big organization or, but.
Yeah, no, and it's true. It's one of those things where you get to a certain point in that, like, argument, it's still valid, but then you have to, like, then you have to acknowledge even further that we live in a world where it's happening, so we have to do other things too.
Yeah.
But,
not only that, you can't fairly say that any of the Fortune 500 companies are free market companies.
That's the thing.
You can't argue any company in the country is free market economy or a free market capitalist company because somewhere along the line, a potential competitor is being held back from legislation that these big companies lobby for.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
but there's definitely levels of that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Even in, like, this new infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
Like how they're putting up, like charging stations for electric cars.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me that's not a huge benefit to, like, companies like Tesla and...
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's... however you feel about that.
Yeah.
Like, don't look at that as, like these companies are just completely free market companies.
Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously giving, like, huge advantages to
one side of the
exactly
one side of the market, not the
So
other.
yeah, no, I'm totally agree with that. You can't be in support of that kind of crony capitalism and then make the argument from a libertarian side and be like, oh well,
you don't like it, build your own.
It's a free company. It's like or a free market. It's like no, it's not. It's everything we don't agree with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it cracks me up like when you tell like people who maybe don't understand fully. Or even, those Beltway libertarians that like to say that like to take that stance. It's like they're super critical that the CCP. So for many of you who don't know, CCP, that's the Chinese Communist Party. That's, the government agency that runs China, obviously. So when you open a company in China, and this even applies for American, like, companies like Apple, for instance, that maybe their headquarters are here, but they have a campus there. Any company that has a campus in China, they have to have a division of the CCP within their company. So that means that there are federal Chinese government employees that have a direct say in how these companies conduct their business. And, you tell a lot of people that, and they're like, holy shit, that's insane.
Yeah.
And it's like, the only thing that's insane about that statement is the fact that it's public. Because the same exact thing happens in America. Maybe not the same exact thing, like, so explicit, right? Like,
yeah.
When you open a company, the government doesn't knock on the door and says, hey, we're taking,
right.
this wing of the company. Like, it doesn't happen so explicitly, but it happens.
Right.
Same thing, like, people are like, oh my god, North Korea, like, their government doesn't let their people see certain things. And it's like, okay, how is that any different than what is going on here?
It's like
I guess the argument is that we have access to it, but it's like quasi access, right? Like, you have to go to, like, these fringe search engines and, like, really dig through mountains of trash to really find, unbiased, like, just straight facts. Like, this is what it is. There's no spin on it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess the only real difference is that, like the Chinese are not really coming from a place of, like, more freedom to less freedom. It's just kind of, like, always been the Chinese, party, and, like, what they do is, like, what they do, and they're probably being even more intense lately. But, like, we're coming from a place where there was more freedom and now it's less freedom.
Right.
You know, so like
whereas there, like you said, it's always been this way, so it just is what it is.
Yeah, and so we're looking at it as like things are getting, worse.
Incrementally worse,
I don't know what my point there was, but
No, I think you're just, highlighting the difference, basically, what you just said. I don't know.
So I guess what I was trying to say is that it's less obvious because it kind of has to be less obvious. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just up front. It's like, that's what they do.
Like that would never fly.
Yeah, because I mean, our heads would explode. Yeah. If they implemented it in
at that
way.
level, right?
Yeah. So they do it in a different way.
Yep.
And then
behind the curtains. Yeah.
Exactly.
Man, what else happened this week? I'm trying to think. Cuomo. Cuomo's the thing that happened.
Cuomo?
Yeah, whatever that guy's name is.
Cuomo.
Cuomo.
Harold and Cuomo.
Well, Cuomo's, I think, is what he did to his interns, right? He Cuomo'd all over them.
Cuomo'd over them.
Oh, Jesus.
Fucking A.
But, I think he just resigned, right?
Yeah.
Today.
Kind of forced to, right?
Yeah, I didn't really have much of a choice.
What a cuck, dude. Freaking went out through all this, did all the COVID stuff, wrote a book about how good he did the COVID stuff, and he fucking
God. I know. I'm like,
it's like one of those things where, like, I want him to be gone, mainly because who knows if the sexual harassment stuff's true or not. But he's just like a shitty governor or a mayor, right? He's the mayor
or person, particularly.
I mean, he might be a good guy.
Yeah,
I'm sure he makes some good meatballs, but
this guy's a piece of shit.
But
a piece of shit.
All I'm saying is, like, come on, dude. Like, you're supposed to be like this, like, sauced up sauce monkey over there in New York, and as soon as stuff gets tight, you freaking tap out. What a little.
Yeah, I'm always critical when the whole like sexual misconduct allegation gets thrown around, right?
Yeah.
The only reason I wasn't with him is because this guy's been involved in so many scandals, and somehow they just bounce right off him. So to see one finally stick, like, I guess there could be a chance that it could be bullshit, but
it's probably not.
He's in a state where, like, he has majority support, so I don't think, you know what I mean? Like, for someone like him to go down for it is crazy because he's got the entire empire behind him.
Yeah.
So for him to go down for it probably was true, right?
Yeah. Well, I think he was.
And I know that's not a very scientific or logical way of looking at it, but it's way harder for someone like him to go down for something like that than it would be for.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying that, and Trump, he had his fair share.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with, like, whether or not, like, the Democratic Party is, like, done with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like they were done with him.
Yeah.
So it was like, then you started seeing people come out and be like, yeah, he should resign.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, they're done with him.
Yeah.
They're like ready to move on.
Yeah, there was too much shit.
Yeah.
He was like dead weight to them almost.
Yeah, he effed up too many times.
And I feel like that's another perfect example of, no matter how compliant or how supportive you are of the empire, when they're done with you, they're done with you.
That's it.
That's like another, not to. We're probably going to bring a lot of this back to, North Korea and Yeonmi Park's situation, just because we all just finished listening to that. But it's like she was saying, in North Korea, some of Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un's like top generals, one of them was like super sick, and like I think he like nodded all, like he got caught sleeping in one of the meetings or something. The next day he was executed, and he was like one of the top generals. Like,
right.
This guy would have jumped onto a sword or a landmine for these guys, and slipped up once, and they were done with him.
Right.
Efficient.
Yeah.
But I think it's also interesting to see, like, what are we in? We're in the summer, so maybe like a little over a year and 3 months or so. Everybody was looking at Cuomo? I think
it's Cuomo. It's like exactly how it's spelled. Cuomo.
Cuomo.
Okay, so Cuomo.
We'll just call him Cuomo.
He was being pushed as, possibly the next Democratic,
I think Biden. Candidate. I think verbatim, Biden actually called him the gold standard of governance.
Governance. He was kind of trying to be what Desantis is doing now.
He was
like, pushing it to be like, I'm handling the COVID so well. Look at me. I can be possibly VP or president, you know?
Yeah.
And now he's fucking...
Meanwhile, he's got like his hand on the door of the homeless shelters while the old people are like begging and screaming to get out, and they're just dying.
Yeah.
And then he's telling, his aides to lie about the numbers and...
Yeah. Well, he told the one aide to lie about the numbers, then he went in the other room with his other aide.
And raped her.
No, he just wanted to read her name tag, so he had to move her boob up, I think, is what happened.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He couldn't read the name tag. He's old.
And he couldn't see it, so he had to like put his lip on her nipple so he could get close eye on the name tag.
Old Italian guys,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I didn't watch the video because I was at work and I don't have service at the airport, but I was just scrolling through, and the video, it was like a video of Cuomo, and again, I couldn't watch it, but the headline, in the caption, it was like, it had quotes, and it said, "I'm not perverted, I'm Italian."
No, I didn't.
I don't know if he actually said that or not.
Oh, no.
I feel like I need to look it up.
He's real handsy,
Yeah.
Talks with his hands.
Yeah. Now that we have not now that we have it, we've always had it, but... We can start doing the like videos and shit on here. It'd be kind of cool.
But that'd be fun if you actually said that.
Like video, you know what I mean? Let's do it. Let's try and do it.
I'm sure that sounds like something he would say. He always like leaned into his Italianness for some reason.
Yeah.
Like you fucking live in New York.
On behalf of the Italian community,
like
we do not claim him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Nick.
So what happens, so like what's crazy with me with all this right now is a lot of this is going on because of the sexual harassment charge, like stuff that's coming out, right?
Right.
Even though Biden dropped the DOJ case on it, I think it was the DOJ or one of his committees he has were investigating it.
Oh yeah.
But they dropped it.
Oh.
But then he still said he should back down as governor.
Yeah,
he's mayor, right? He's not governor.
No,
he's mayor, right?
Who?
Cuomo.
Yeah, he's the mayor.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I think
he's the governor.
Is he governor?
Andrew Cuomo's the governor.
Hey, who's the mayor then?
De Blasio?
De Blasio.
Oh, De Blasio's the mayor? Okay. And Cuomo's the governor. Okay.
Cuomo.
So many people. Yeah, so it was just weird that on the federal level, they dropped that case for sexual harassment. But then it still kept going on the state level.
Right.
So it was just interesting why they would drop that, but still push him to leave office, It's like, were the other things tied up in that?
Yeah.
We can put our Q hat on and dive deep into it.
We should do that. We should do a conspiracy episode.
But yeah, no, it was just again, it's just weird. That's all have to do with sexual stuff. I mean, that's weird. I mean, if that happened, fuck that guy.
Yeah, no way. When you look up Andrew Cuomo sexual misconduct, like the second video is fucking about Trump's thing.
But it's just weird that when he was killing all those grandparents and lied about it, there wasn't that much talk. Like dude, that's not the thing.
It was like 2 days in the news.
That's not the thing that pushed it over. It's like
it's the sexual harassment.
Yeah, which again is
horrible. It's horrible. I mean, when you
why are we picking and choosing what we want to get rid of someone
exactly.
for?
Yeah.
Like how many old people did he kill?
Like
it still wasn't 20,000.
Like you obviously you can't you can't put one over the other, but I mean when you look at like sexual harassment, and I just saying this already, I can see how it's going to sound like I'm like completely downplaying it. I think anybody that knows me and follows my personal page, how I feel about, people who don't respect people's boundaries in that regard. And you should just know that I'm very outspoken about that kind of thing. But when you compare the deaths of like thousands of people you can, without a doubt, directly attribute those deaths to his actual legislation.
Right.
So when you compare like thousands of deaths to his direct decision and and sexual harassment of however many handfuls of women, like you were just saying, why is it that this is the thing that
Well,
but then to go back to what you were saying, Cameron, I think the empire was done with him.
Yeah.
I think the nursing home thing was like, the kind of the match that,
kind of ember started.
Yep. And then this was like, they were like, all right, we need to ditch this guy because
Yeah.
For the last year we supported him, calling him the gold standard of whatever, and now, it's all come out that he's human garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before. When like the government like messes up, like what I'm saying. In particular, this situation where he killed a bunch of grandmas and grandpas by sticking them into infected funeral homes or infected retirement, nursing homes and whatnot. When they make that mistake, it's like, whoops. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it can be kind of just like, we
unintended consequence. We didn't know.
This happens, and we were trying to do our best thing, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we talk about this a lot because we talk about what would happen in the situation of a private company was doing this, right? It would be a huge deal.
Oh yeah.
But in this situation, it's like
it'd be all hands on deck to tear that company apart.
Exactly. But in this situation, it's like, we're sorry it happened.
Like, oops.
And then the thing that gets him is a pat on the butt and a little Gropenstein, So, I don't know. Yeah, it's scary that this is the thing that got him, but I don't know. I'm glad to see him go. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think everyone is.
Yeah. But
now, if you moved here from New York, you can go home.
Yeah, he's gone.
No, they still got De Blasio that's making you have a vaccine passport.
To go anywhere.
Yeah,
gotta have your papers ready.
That is a very scary thing. That to me is like, one of the biggest shockers of like, I don't know, my recent life. Yeah,
and I don't know, like, it's only taken us 70 years to completely forget like how this kind of plays out if you let it.
Yeah,
it's
good.
Yeah, I mean, not to compare, but like we've seen something very similar happen.
Yeah.
And we've seen what happened, like how it played out. I'm not saying that's what will happen, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that this is a direct comparison, but everybody should be against this. No, there's not a single person on planet Earth that should be for this type of thing.
Yeah, I think people who are for this are like, I don't even know what to say. Like, it's almost like, do we not like live in the same country that we both want to live in? Like.
Yeah, secession is imminent.
It's it's crazy too because it's worldwide now. Like what France is doing it now.
Yeah,
like there's videos of like police, whatever the police people are in France, because they're not like the same police.
They can't even carry guns.
Yeah, I think they have like little wands. They have
batons.
Yeah, no, I think
there's a little fairies walking around.
Yeah, but like they come to the people like sitting down outside, like asking for papers and stuff, and it's just like. Dude, this is weird, man.
It's so eerily reminiscent of a certain time in history.
Well, so let's try to get into their mind, their headspace, right?
The police officers?
No. Like the community of people who like think that this is like absolutely banana sandwich. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
like think about it. No, wait a second. Like okay, so they're setting up vaccine passports. And pretty much in order to do anything in New York City, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, you basically can't go inside of any business without a vaccine passport.
Okay, so they're looking at it this way. Like, how difficult is it to get a vaccine?
Yep.
It's very simple. Just go do it. Just comply.
It's free.
Get the vaccine.
And then
you can just have all your freedoms.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second. So in order to have my freedoms, I have to go do what you want me to do in order to, because that's how they shaped it too. It's like,
so
if you want to have you could do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You just have to do this one thing.
Right. And my immediate rebuttal to that is, did I ever have those freedoms if you can hold them over my head like that?
Right. Or what gives you the right?
Well, that too, and like these are not your freedoms to give.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gave me
or
these
take
freedoms.
Away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if there's any job that a federal government should have, I personally don't believe the government has any right to even exist. But if the government has one single job, it is to protect your rights.
Absolutely right.
In my eyes, that's the only, and this is me, even going kind of to the extent of, what I could kind of get down with. But yeah, that's the absolute only job a government should have. And especially ours, like just to see, like not to see, but to like just knowing what the framers wanted for the government in the country, and to see it to get to this point in 250 years is kind of remarkable to me. Yeah, that's all it took was 250 years.
Yeah, and to bring it back to what Cameron was saying, so like what you stated is exactly how I've heard, and I think that most people who are for the vaccine passport are. It's like, it's, I'm vaccinated, it wasn't bad. It's, all this media's been pushed into, like, it's for the greater good, right? It's, protect you, protect me, regardless if that's true or not, this is what they think and this is what's being pushed and it's what believed for the most people. And it's one of those things where they also believe, like, why wouldn't you want to do this, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to protect people? Why wouldn't you want to be safe yourself? And I also think a lot of people who are for this, they don't think it can get any worse, right? I think they can comprehend, but I don't think they believe
that it will.
Yeah. Where I think the people who are against it fully believe it will, and I think that those are the correct ones. Like, this is something where, we're putting really something that's not even, because they'll also bring up, before I go back to that, they'll also bring up like, well, you have to be vaccinated to go to public school, and obviously, we have a rebuke to that and whatever it is. Well, not whatever it is, but we know what we think of that. Oh, you have to already, carry on an ID, to drive and all that stuff, and it's like, that's fine, but it's like one of those things where like, how much more are you going to add on to this pile?
Yeah.
You're like, it's like, hey, the NIH only killed 450,000 beagles this year. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
It's like, well, how many more can they kill? Like, can we add another 400,000? That's okay?
Yeah.
It's like, how about we just not add more to the pile that they just keep taking from us?
That's like a really fair point to be made too. Is like by just simply complying, you're just saying just keep adding.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
That's a big thing going around right now on, I'm sure all our Instagram spaces we follow is like, you keep complying, they'll keep adding on, or whatever the lingo is right now.
That was a big theme of our last episode too.
Yeah. It's like you think by complying it will end, but it's because you're complying that it won't end.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't know. I mean, you can't even argue that. Look at the last year.
Mm-hmm.
We're what a year and 6 months into this, a year and a half in. And it's still, like, they're just still adding shit on.
Yeah.
At first it was just 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks will be good to go.
Yeah.
And then it was, those damn, people who couldn't wear the mask and couldn't social distance. It was their fault. So now we have to do this.
Yep.
And then at the end of that, whatever that was, I guess that was, I don't know, what was it? Whatever it was, it's those damn people that didn't do it.
Yeah.
Now we have to do this.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't, you really can't tell what's going on. Like, you really can't see what's going on. It's not the people that didn't do it.
Right.
It's the fact that you're continuing to do it. They're just like, oh, this is great. They'll just do whatever the fuck we tell them to.
Not to mention, like, how much power they realize that they have now.
Yeah.
That you're just not getting away from them now.
Yeah.
Man, it's scary.
Yeah.
Scary. And obviously, and we've brought this up a bazillion times, and I'm sure we'll continue to bring it up, but it's all under the guise of the fact that it's for your benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing this for you. We're doing this for you. And until you get to the point where you're, like, we brought up this North Korea thing several times, but until it's like you're living in total authoritarianism, just craziness,
Yeah.
And I was listening to a podcast today, and he posed a pretty good thought. It was like, okay, like, are we being too intense with this? Like, are we looking at this like, are we putting the cart before the horse and saying that this is like really intense authoritarianism? The world's like falling apart, and I think there's an element of that. Like, I think there is. I think we can get very intense, but I
don't know.
But ...
Yeah.
Like, the more we comply, like, the more intense it gets. You have to look at the big picture with this kind of thing. Otherwise, it's going to slowly be taken from you, and we're going to be in a very weird point. Like,
yeah, and like I don't you know, maybe there is a little bit of that intensity, you know, but I really can't think of in modern history a better example of like, you know, modern fascism in the world. Like, you know, obviously there's been some really gnarly fascists, you know, in history, but
and I think that's what he was comparing it to. If you look at like Stalin, and
yeah,
like that,
and of course that's extreme. You know, we're not. Well, I don't know. I'd argue because Cuomo fucking, you know, killed how many thousands of old people.
Right.
You know, I know it's not millions like, you know, Stalin and some of the, you know, the extreme fascists, but
I think it's also like people like are like, well, it's not like how it was, and I don't think it'll ever be like that moving forward because now we're so connected that people are like to get to that point. You'd have so many eyes on you; it'd almost be impossible, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So now things are going to happen in such a like just how it happens in the U.S. government, right? They take little by little. They have these massive campaigns go on through the media to get people hyped up on this, like COVID. What is it? Everybody's scared, and now we have 30% of the people who are okay with vaccine passports.
Yeah,
like I mean that's how it happens. It's not they're not just going to fully throw the axe down. It's going to have to be incremental.
Incremental, yeah. And to go back to the original, you know, point of this, you know, topic, you were saying let's get into their minds, talking about the people that, you know, are for this type of thing. They don't see it that way. You know what I mean? They don't see it like that. It's an incremental chipping away of your rights because they're not giving up this power. You know what I mean?
Which I mean, to have that mindset is almost like bliss, right?
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. Like I'm glad you don't think that. Cause I do. And it scares me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And like, it's always like, you know, I'm in my shoes and I'm always gonna think, you know, I'm right or I'm more right than, you know, people think different than me.
You're the rightest.
Correct. I'm not as right as Nick, but I'm a little bit to the left.
You know.
But
it's tough.
But it's one of those things where it's like, I'm glad you don't feel like that. But like now why do you have to force me to think or get into your line, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's something I think that should be pushed more. You know, obviously a lot happens online, and like the online is just fucking, it's the wild, wild west still, no matter what people say. Like, fucking, there's no like congruency on there. But I think something people who are against this should more push is like, hey, what I'm trying to do is not push anything towards you or push anything onto you.
That's such a good point.
It's like, people then will bring up like, well, if you don't get the vaccine, you might kill my grandma. And that's a whole other discussion you can have where it's probably not true and like the vaccine's open and they can get it. But like, just look at my point of view where I'm not trying to push anything onto you or I'm not trying to like enforce anything onto you, but what you're trying to do is enforce something onto me.
Yeah.
And like, how do you think that's right?
Preach it, bro.
Well, that's it. So
no, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
No, I mean you make such a good point because,
and I'm sure I've heard that from somewhere else, like McDonald's or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was probably on a quote somewhere.
Yeah,
a Happy Meal or something.
No, but I mean you're right in the sense that we're not pushing anything on you. It's you're pushing it on us.
Correct.
You know, it's like you're welcome to get the vaccine. You're welcome to wear a mask. You're welcome to do all those things, but don't make me do it.
Yeah.
And you know, I've heard the point too, which is, you know, because I'm all for it. If you think you should get the vaccine, you should get the vaccine. If you want to wear a mask, I'm not looking at you like you're some big fat dummy liberal that like it's just complying. I'm not looking at you
unless you're wearing a mask in the car alone.
Yeah, there is something to be said about that, and it is hard to not look at somebody and judge them a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, I have to look at. I'm like, what? And then like they pull it down to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. But you know, when you're looking, you're not saying any of those things, and if I'm the one that's at risk because I'm not getting a vaccine and I'm not wearing my mask. Like, don't feel the need to protect me.
Well, yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, just let me live my life, and you live your life exactly the way you want to.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. We brought this up before with Daddy D, Desantis. Oh boy,
I love how we just say that so like you know
he's Daddy
nonchalant
D
right now.
Yeah. Well, we're that's our thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, but you know, like you know, he's saying. You can't mandate masks, but your kid can wear a mask.
Yeah.
And your kid can get vaccinated or whatever, or maybe not yet, but he can be soon, I'm sure. And so, like, man, like, dude, we're not, not forcing anything on anybody else. Don't feel the need to protect us.
And the Empire's programming has gotten so good to the point where I was scrolling through and I seen one of the pages post the headline that Desantis is withholding funds from, school board officials.
Yeah, we talked about that last episode.
Yeah, we did. But I seen that headline and I was like, oh boy, let me just look at some of the comments.
Yeah.
And I seen somebody straight up calling DeSantis a fascist.
Yeah.
For him being basically against schools mandating things. And I couldn't believe, like, do you even know what the word you're saying? Do you even know what that means? Because it's like the complete opposite. Like you just said, Cameron, he's not saying if you come to school with a mask, you're being sent home or you're being fined.
Right.
He's not saying if you get the vaccine, you're not allowed to go to school.
Yeah.
He's saying you can go to school no matter what. Like, if you want to get the vaccine, get it. If don't, and
yeah,
like that, I feel like that's a pretty good example of not like what fascism is not.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brooke.
No, yeah, I was just saying it's weird because, like you're saying, Nick, like it's not. But a lot of people, equate fascism to like sternness or like it's really overreach. A lot of it's governmental overreach that I don't agree with. Right?
Yeah.
Is what, what
yeah.
people assume, or not assume, but people like equate fascism to be.
Yeah.
It's like the government's overreaching in a place I don't like, or in a way I don't like.
It must be fascism.
It's fascism, and it's like if you're going to use that as that's not fascism, but if that's the vocabulary or the definition you want to use, that's what he's doing. But guess what? He runs the schools.
Yeah. So quite literally, he's the boss.
Yeah.
And so if you want to look at it that way,
and with those people, it's like, I'm with you. Fuck that guy. Like, I don't want to tell you how to what to do in your schools.
Yeah.
But this is the world we live in,
and he's the boss of the schools.
Yeah.
And if you look at it that way, like we brought this up, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but
no, beat it, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
beat it off.
No, but
grab that dick and say,
it's a public school.
Beat the horse off.
Oh Jesus, he's the governor.
Get his cum.
I'll take
right,
it.
I'm done.
Yeah, please give me some of that.
Keep going.
Oh shit, that was a thick pour there.
Yeah. Oh son, Book, you want some of this?
Yeah, I'll take some.
What
were you saying, Kim?
Huh? What do we think about this? Good, right?
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, larceny is really good.
Yeah,
I'm drinking it without a cube, and it's actually quite nice.
Yeah, you guys you owe me a bottle. No,
that's fine.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
Give you my ham
me
bottle.
Whiskey. My whiskey is your whiskey.
How about your wife?
I'm gonna pretend like you didn't. I'm late. No. Lord, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't know how we get back after that.
No, we were talking about people.
Oh, yeah. So I was saying like if you're looking at it like these schools are like private schools, which is we know it's not, and it's totally public and ran by the government. I mean, he's the boss, and if he says you don't have to do it, you don't have to do it. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want it to be that way, but that's the way it is, and so there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, there is. You can jump on our side and try to take these things away from them, but this is where they just don't they don't go the extra step.
Yeah.
Which could be I know Dave Smith talks about this sometimes.
That's where Republicans are weak as fuck.
Yeah.
True.
I think again Dave Smith talks about it sometimes. It's it's almost a bad look on libertarians and anarchists where it's these are great opportunities to kind of help people move farther away and closer to our side,
and they always
we don't.
Yeah,
and we fail at this part.
Yeah.
You
you saying we motherfucker we French or something over here?
We.
No, but you're right because especially the LP over the last year and a half. There's been so many great opportunities to get both some of the lefties and some of the people on the right to look at this shit for what it is and really be critical of their own party, and maybe hopefully get some more people on the liberty minded kind of track.
Yeah.
And every time they've just the LP has dropped the ball, and it's really discouraging to see because we're supposed to be doing the motherfucking thing. And
yeah, I think that does fall on them a lot of times, but the what Bookie just said is an interesting idea. It's how do you get people in this particular situation where you're like, you kind of agree with DeSantis and you kind of don't, whatever. It's like, how do you get them to like look beyond like CNN and like just bashing DeSantis or whatever? Like that's the game plan right now, and say, hey, like why don't like you guys consider like a libertarian move and like have like private schools, like totally
completely dissolve public education.
Yeah. Like why don't you guys like consider that?
Well, yeah,
if you hate this so much,
right? Especially,
but I mean, what he's doing now is pissing them off in like ways that like the federal government's going to get involved,
right?
Like, and
right. So I think not to break up. I think there's been news about it where Biden's now trying to get. Because the federal government to pay for the schools that he's not going to be paying for.
Exactly. So that's the thing,
which is fucking crazy.
It is crazy, and that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen. So it's just it's tough. It's tough. It's tough when if you want to make that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if there is a Democratic president, they're just going to push until the federal government takes like more of your tax money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To pay for whatever to happen, I don't know.
And it's really just to go back to kind of the point you were making.
Not to mention, we're talking about DeSantis not giving funding to schools who are trying to implement mandating on masks.
Yeah, okay. that's kind of what we started talking about.
I knew that.
Yeah, but no, like you were saying, so many people, on the right are looking at this. They see it as a win or whatever, and the left is like, this is horrible, and it's whatever. Both sides are, either happy or pissed off, whatever. And, just like we were saying, how, the opportunities for the Libertarian Party to come out with, what I think is really great ideas that, probably most people see as radical, because we've been trained to think in either black or white, right? It's like walking into an ice cream shop and only looking at vanilla or chocolate. Mm-hmm. It's like there's a lot of other options that you're not seeing because you've been trained to only think about it in these two ways.
Oh, for sure.
And it's really frustrating to watch the Libertarian Party kind of just flounder when it comes to these situations because there's been so many good points to be made this last year and a half.
Yeah, and I think it's a hard thing to do, even though I'm saying they're failing at it, which they are. But, like, because you can't be too blunt about it, right? You can't just be like...
No, see, and I disagree. I think this is the best time to be extremely blunt.
I think you can have different methods to do it, where you can, let's say you have multiple nets out, and certain nets have bigger holes, certain nets have smaller holes. Whatever that analogy is. I don't know what the fuck I just said. But So you catch bigger fish in some, you catch smaller fish in others, right?
Yeah.
Because like some people, and I'm not gonna try to be like people on the left are always gonna be like super hard when you come on them more brash, which I think they will be. I think both sides will be, but it's different people. Well, I think some people be like, hey, well, what if we got like private schools? Like, what if we were able to get more private schooling in? So we don't have to listen to DeSantis. They're like, okay.
Yeah,
then you slowly get them into this thought process.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's been, people have tried to do it that way and you just get the typical kind of eye roll, like, oh, here's the fucking, the hippie that wants to homeschool his kid or, the rich guy who's all about private schooling. Cause, when you hear the word private school, immediately what do you think?
Well, yeah, you think of St. Ed's.
Right, St. Ed's, high dollar, you need money, you need to have money to send these kids to school. Where, they completely ignore the fact, and Ron Paul was great at this. I mean, he fucking stood in North Carolina and basically told the entire stadium that he was, debating in that the war in the Middle East is a sham.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was one of the most popular, I guess he ran as a Republican, right?
Yeah, at that point he was.
Yeah. But I mean, look at the traction that guy had. That I feel like he is I don't even know. He's like the insert extremely popular person. He was like that for the Libertarians. Yeah. I feel like he's the epitome of what could have been or what I don't know.
No, that's true. I just think it's like there's.
And I feel like not to interrupt you. I just want to finish the point. I feel like that is exactly what we need.
Yeah. Yeah,
because think about it. We had what you're talking about. We had kind of a more reserved kind of, candidate this last year, Jo Jorgensen, right? She was a little. Whoa, what's going on? She was, she came out and said, the typical, like fucking layup libertarian view, like, oh, taxation's theft. Everyone should have machine guns.
But, so I think what Bookie's saying is not that though. Like, so I agree with Bookie. Hold on, I'm gonna let you talk, but I wanna give you a little tap on the bottom there because I agree with what you're saying because
tickle my sack.
No, I mean I agree with both of you guys, but I totally understand what you're saying because what she did was. I don't know, man. She failed miserably, I think, in a lot of ways. I mean, she was talking about Black Lives Matters when you're having a COVID lockdown. I mean, she totally missed her opportunities.
Yeah, she botched.
But that aside, like, you do influence people by like not totally offending them, right? Like, and I think like if you like you mentioned, slowly chip away, like put ideas in their head, and you're not going to get everybody. Yeah. I mean, you're not, and that's the way I think a lot of times we want to wield like a heavy hammer.
Yeah.
And we just want to smash people. And like, that feels good when you're online and your boxes and like 2 o'clock in the morning when you're like making comments on somebody else's thread.
Do you have a camera in my room?
Oh, that was good. But I think like that always is not the most effective way of doing it.
Right.
The most effective way of doing it is one, it's in person, in conversations when you're having with real people, not online, and you're not smashing them, but you're just giving them opportunities to think about something differently. And I think that's what Bookie is saying.
So,
it's like, hey, consider this.
Yeah.
Like, I love that line. I've always
consider
used that.
This, yeah.
Yeah, I've always used that line when you're trying to say, hey, like, I understand your point, but consider this. Consider a different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then tell them a little bit about like why you believe the way you believe.
Yeah.
But when you just come in and just start smashing things.
Yeah, then you just look like an ignorant, arrogant asshole.
I mean, they don't want anything to do with you. Yeah. And you didn't influence them at all.
Yeah.
If
you like blacking out and waking up in a fat girl's bed, Florida Man Beer Works is for you. Have you ever thought, wow, my life is going way too good. I should fuck it up completely. Then Florida Man Beer Works is for you.
If you're into drinking and driving 45 miles over the speed limit, turning a side eye to the school zone, driving in reverse as fast as you can, down 95, jumping medians, driving while naked, Florida Man Beer Works is for you.
Have you ever thought to yourself, wow, I don't beat my wife enough, that Florida Man Beer Works is for you?
Have you ever woke up, thought, and looked in the mirror and said, I don't agree with that genitalia that's on me. And maybe I should make that appointment finally. Florida Man Beer Works is for you.
If you're the kind of guy who looks around the gym and says, I need to start taking steroids, but not because you want to be more jacked, because you like the idea of a small dick, Florida Man Beer Works is for you.
Today's episode was brought to you by Florida Man Beer Works, a long-time supporter, long-time listener, and the owner's just a super good dude, and he supports the show, so make sure you go check him out. Again, that's Florida Man Beer Works.
So I think we all agree with each other. So I think when it comes to candidates and people who have the big stage, they should be brash. They should be bold.
This is the exact point I was going to make after Cameron was talking.
Yeah, so I think that's how you should be. You should be like Ron Paul. You should be, like Trump is a great example of that, right? He's fucking the brashest person we've ever seen.
Right, and
he came in and
you're making the exact point I was just about to make.
But I think when you're on, like, and this is more like
interpersonal,
like what Cameron's talking about. I think it's more for like if you're not a candidate and you're like online, like trying to talk to somebody, or like instead of just trying to like own them, and you're part of the Libertarian Party or like you're part of like the Liberty movement, maybe you should be a little more personal about it, right? You have a better chance. Like, don't get me wrong. There's still sometimes you should like fucking drop the hammer if you want, do what you want.
Yeah,
it's fun.
I mean, I agree, but don't expect anything to
correct.
happen.
So I think it's like a two-pronged prong, where it's one of those things where like you're the person who's in the main view, the candidate, should be brash, should, have those simple, where it's like, why are we talking about Black Lives Matters? Look what the Fed's doing to us right now. Just that big boom, big statement.
Yeah.
And then, like, the people who are on, the ground floor, who are talking to people in the comment section, unfortunately, or, like, actually in person, should be a little bit more, like, hey, if you actually want to, like, look at something differently, have you considered this, like you said?
Yeah. I think that's,
yeah, good point.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, because, from the big stage and candidate-wise, the Libertarian Party
that's where they fucking
has taken the back seat and whispered from the back seat for way too long.
Mm-hmm.
You need, we really, and I know Dave Smith is kind of, whether it be jokingly or he's serious, he's, made comments that he's gonna, he might throw in a ticket, but I think he'd be the perfect, because I think now is as good a time as any where we need one of those loudmouth, educated guys to get up there on the stage and look at, both sides and say, no, fuck that. You guys are wrong. Like, that is not, no, we need to do it differently. And someone like him would be great, because he's just like a wealth of knowledge. He knows, like, Austrian economics. He knows it all. That guy's like what does he always call himself? The libertarian Tupac?
Yeah. He needs to be the 2024 Ron Paul, where he gets up at North Carolina and says, if drugs were legal today, would you guys smoke meth?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the kind of thing you need to say, where it's like, people are like, oh, fuck, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Where instead of saying, like, on Twitter, like the George Jorgensen party did, like, fucking, Black Lives Matter is so great.
Yeah.
But
that's what she said.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know how she spelt that on Twitter, but yeah.
It was like that thing where you type in a bunch of, like, crazy letters into the text message and it reads it back.
Yeah. That I always tag Emily in, yeah.
But, we talked about it a little bit with the school in Florida. We talked about it last week, too. Do you guys want to talk about the voucher system that's been...
Yeah, bring it, dude.
That's been released? So, an update, I guess, on what we talked about last episode 11, about...
Go check it out.
DeSantis, mandating that, school districts can't force kids to wear masks in schools. We talked about back then, one of the things he was doing to schools or school districts that were going to say, fuck you, DeSantis, he was going to take their pay away. Now, another thing he's looking at is extending the voucher system that Florida has for kids. So, like, you go to a school district, and your kid goes to a school, they're like, hey, no, we don't care what the state government says. Great. That's awesome. But I don't agree with what you're doing to my kid now. Now you can go to the state of Florida and get a voucher, which, a lot of liberty-minded people have wanted for a long time, is you get a voucher and you can actually go to any school you want, or private school. It's just like almost like a blank check of money. Well, it's for a certain amount of money, but to go to school with. So that's really cool. That's being
I think I've mentioned that a couple times, and Daddy D's not the first to implement something like that.
No,
where the money follows the kid rather than the school.
Yeah, probably not 100%, but it's probably a good amount.
It's similar kind of system though.
But it's interesting because the way they're doing it with this is, I guess, there's already a stipulation in a voucher system where, again, we don't have a voucher system, but there is, like, if your kid gets bullied a lot in a school, or like something happens and they can't be at the school anymore, you can apply to the state of Florida to get a voucher. And so now he's just expanding that system that's already in.
Yeah.
So I was actually talking to Cameron about this a couple days ago, and it's really cool to see this happening in a sense of, we a lot of times see when things get rough with government, they extend their reach, and it means a lot of our freedoms go away. And this is one of those cases where they're somewhat extending their reach, but it's loosening some things up in some ways.
Right. It's putting more freedom of choice into the
system.
Yeah. Well, no, not the system. Into the parent and the student.
But they're more freedom for the system to use.
Right.
I would like it. I know our guy we talk about a lot on here.
Malice.
No, the guy in Florida.
Anthony Sabatini.
Yeah, Anthony Sabatini. He likes to do a lot of crazy shit and like run for it and like be super loud about it, which is great. Like, why doesn't he like try to get DeSantis to make this voucher system just fully enabled? Like,
Like long term.
Long term. Like not just a stipulation where it's like if your school's not going for something, like just put it out. Everybody gets a voucher. Like this is the time, right? This is where like now Desantis has made it a little bit more
right, because you're doing two things. You're cutting. Not that I'm in favor of welfare programs, which I don't know if you can necessarily call this a welfare program. I mean, it's the state giving you money, so in a way it is, but
it's your money. So.
I
guess you could say the school system's a welfare system,
right? So you're it's doing two things. It's taking money out of the system, which I'm all for, and it's putting choice and freedom into this, the parents and students' hands, which I think is kind of a double win, but. At the same time, I'm not for, the state giving money out, really, in any circumstance.
Yeah, I totally agree. Go ahead.
No, so this is the issue that I have, like, with Republicans. Is, like, the left is going to continue to push for more compliance and continue to take freedoms, but Republicans, instead of going the opposite direction, like you're saying, like, and giving more freedoms back, they just... like fight.
They just headbutt. Yeah, it's like fucking Rams.
Yeah. So they just buck instead of saying, okay, if you want to take more freedoms, I'm going to give more freedoms back. That's really what DeSantis should be doing.
Right.
But instead he's just like saying, oh, well, we're not going to do that.
Right.
And which I appreciate. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's nice to see it.
But I'd like to see him go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could say, instead of saying, like, oh, you're not going to take my guns, you're not going to take my guns, well, why don't we just outlaw all guns? You know what I'm saying? Like, go the opposite direction.
Gun laws.
Yeah, exactly.
Outlaw gun laws. Right?
Yeah, I'm saying, like...
I was like, wait.
Nick's like, no.
No, take it back.
Yeah.
You said outlaw all guns.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, people...
No, but I know what you're saying.
wants to outlaw all guns. I'm saying, why don't Republicans say... No, you're welcome to... Oh, yeah, I see what I see.
Yeah.
Now that I'm saying...
I'm like, wait, is Cameron a closet?
No. I'm just saying, like, why not just say, hey, like, why don't we just, like, allow you to have machine guns?
Yeah.
That would be going in the opposite direction.
Right.
Instead of just pushing back. Because what happens is you push back and then you miss one and they get it and you keep pushing back. So they're playing a long game.
Yeah.
But Republicans are not doing anything to go in the opposite direction.
No, and this is something... Tom Woods, he's really critical about the right on. They're too reactive.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're too reactive and
not proactive.
No, and Republicans love talking about liberals being emotional. Every single thing that Republicans do is reactive and emotional.
Yeah.
So, it cracks me up when you see those neocons and they're like, "Oh, liberal tears."
Yeah.
It's like, well, what the fuck are you guys do? Yeah, do something.
Literally do something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of just making jokes about liberals.
Yeah.
And posting liberal gets owned videos. Like,
exactly, dude.
No one gives a shit about those videos. The only people that care about that are you retarded neocons.
Exactly.
That think by having these videos and owning liberals at college campuses, like, that does nothing. It does nothing.
You're not
all it
moving
does
the
is
needle.
excites you guys.
You're not moving the needle anyway.
Nope.
And so I don't know if that's my one massive critique about Republicans is that it's always this like butting head move. It's not moving the needle towards more freedom.
Right.
It's just trying to preserve the little ones that we have still.
Right.
And over time they slowly fail.
And I was gonna say 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
The Republicans, I'm going to do in air quotes, they air quote compromise.
Yeah.
They have never compromised. The left has always won.
Yeah.
The left always beats them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that fair to say? You guys were pretty hesitant when...
Oh, no, I totally agree.
I was thinking about something else. So.
Yeah. Oh, all right. No, well, don't think when I'm speaking, think about what I'm saying.
No, but just to, reiterate what you guys are saying, if you're thinking like, well, what do you guys mean? But the right is reactionary, they're not proactive. Well, you just think about it, right? The right pretty much for the past, I want to say after, maybe second Bush term, the George W. Bush, they don't really do anything besides whatever the left is doing.
They do the opposite.
They vocally say no or we're against it, and they make a big ruckus. and then they eventually, like you guys said, let the left win an inch.
Yeah.
So like a big, if you're not part of like the liberty movement or libertarians or anarchists, a big meme that goes around in those circles is like, what is a Republican? They're someone who stands up for what the left was for 20 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is true, because since the right isn't proactive and they're just reactionary, after 15 years, 10 years, they're just saying they want to keep what the left got 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just
no, that's a really
crazy.
good point. Because you see a lot with like, I'm the gun, me and Chris are the gun guys on here, so, a lot of, you see those examples a lot with guns, and obviously I pay more attention to that, so I know a lot more about that, but that's like a perfect example, It's like just over the decades.
Yeah.
It's always the right, they call it compromising, and, that was like a running joke. Yeah. Everyone was saying Trump was playing like 3D chess with the with the bump stock ban. It was like, oh yeah, he banned the bump stock so we could have this or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but if he was really a Second Amendment advocate, he would just say, fuck you, no. Like, no, we're not going to compromise because it's not compromise. You guys are not like, there's no, like, compromise is give and take, right?
So
there's no give. You're just taking.
Yeah, the reason I used the gun metaphor or example or whatever was, Bookie, maybe you can help me with this, but the guy who ran he was a libertarian candidate for the presidency. What was his name?
Austin Peterson?
Austin Peterson.
Vermin Supreme.
No, Austin Peterson. Austin Peterson ran. When he ran, and he gave away...
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
AR-15s, I remember
that. And a lot of people were like, well, what is his move here? And when he explained his move, was exactly that point. Was instead of just like, trying to come in easy and not as bold, it was like, let's just give somebody away an AR-15. And his point was that like Republicans have been so, defensive and not really moving the needle. His idea was like, look, no, let's move in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Let's be bold and say, hey, let's do this. And so I hindsight, when I look at that, I totally agree with it. But at first I'm like, this guy's got no chance. Yeah. He's like not thinking about the way he's running, but he made a great point.
Right.
And that was the point.
Yeah. That's super cool. Because I didn't know that was the move. Like, that's what he was trying to do either. But I mentioned Vermin Supreme. You guys remember who that is? The guy that he would show up to the debates with a boot on his head, and he was saying he was gonna. Have you ever
libertarian guy?
Yeah, but he like. Yes, he like, if you didn't, again, it was like one of those like stories. Like, you guys might not know this. Spike Cohen was his campaign manager.
Okay.
And I remember one of the first times I heard Spike Cohen speak, it was on Tom Wood's podcast, and he was saying that, Vermin Supreme running was never like a serious, it was almost like a, I want to say the word propaganda, but normally that has like a negative connotation.
Uh-huh.
But that was like the whole idea behind that guy Vermin Supreme running. Like, he never, it was never like a serious thing.
Yeah.
But if you ever watch some of the interviews with Vermin Supreme, he's basically like a satirical candidate. Yeah. All he does is like say the most outlandish shit that you could like directly that are like direct analogies and metaphors for like the shit that Democrats and Republicans do.
Right. It was kind of like a human meme.
Right. Like he would say something that was so outlandish, but it was just outlandish just because of like the context he was saying it in, where like you could easily replace a couple words and it's like the exact same thing that a Republican or Democrat would say.
Right.
And that was their kind of move. They were trying to get people to be like, kind of laugh at his like, nonsense, and then be like, oh, well, wait, shit. Yeah. That's exactly what, so-and-so is doing or so-and-so is saying. Yeah. So I think that, I guess it's kind of, worth nothing if nobody, kind of knows that's the whole gist of it. And I feel like most people probably didn't. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty clever way of getting people to kind of open their eyes to some of the, nonsense.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, he would say like he's giving out ponies and shit. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely gonna be an interesting. It's gonna be an interesting year, guys.
Oh my god!
Oh no.
No,
weird times.
I'm gonna burn you with this cigar.
Yeah.
We're in a weird times.
Yeah, really freaky stuff.
Just to touch back on the voucher, because I think we talked about it pretty well. Just if you're listening to this, this is something where the Republicans and the Libertarians could get together and they can make a hard push, like Sabatini, like I mentioned, to really kind of expand this voucher system, expand it into an actual full-on voucher system to get rid of the, school zoning, where it's like you have to go to a certain public school based on where you live.
Yeah, that's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
To think about that. Like that's how we decide where you go to school.
Which obviously has its terrible outcomes because of, if one school is bad just based on where it's zoned, it's almost always going to be bad because it's always in the same place.
Yeah.
And this,
Yeah, the way you get around that is lie about where you live.
Yeah, which a lot of people do. Yeah. And it works.
They do.
Yep.
Because the government's shit at most things they do.
Yeah.
Everything they do?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I was saying shit in this form of like making sure nobody gets around it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, if it's not like certain things, they don't really give two shits about it.
How humid is it out here tonight?
Bro, I am like dripping.
Dude, like...
No, I feel fine.
Well, because you're going to sit next to the fan.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It goes between all of us.
Like, under my headphones, it's just like...
I know, I've periodically keep taking them off when I'm not talking.
Oh, man, it's hot. Florida, summertime, gotta love it.
Boy, we're in the hottest month though. Well, I guess we just kind of got through. Well, July and August, right? Those are the two hottest.
Yeah.
Only a couple more weeks, boys, and
weird world.
That heat will break.
We'll get those 69 degree nights.
Just keep saying it.
69, 420 nights, baby.
So, anything else going on this week? I'm trying to think. We talked about Cuomo.
Oh my god,
Cuomo.
Yeah, we talked about
a lot of people like to forget that his brother. What the hell is Andrew and what's his brother's name? The CNN guy.
I won't say Anthony. Is it
No.
Anthony?
I mean, you're just saying Italian name.
I know exactly,
Yeah.
which is
What is his name? I can't remember that guy.
Andrew
and
wow, what's Chris?
oh,
Chris. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. The non-Italian name.
Yeah, Chris. Steve. I think it's worth mentioning how weird it is that everyone just kind of forgot about him and his brother's like little collusion with the interviews.
Golly, man, I can't remember anybody's name tonight. But the guy who's supposedly the critic of the press that had the CNN show. That guy makes me want to.
The one that like people have been shitting on like a lot lately.
Oh yeah, because he's terrible
Yeah.
on everything.
The fucking fat dickhead.
Yeah, I think it's his name.
Fat dickhead CNN.
Yeah,
I bet y'all find it just based off that. Fat dickhead CNN. Dick Van Dyke came up. That's not him.
No, what's that guy's name? Find it.
just keep going while he looks for it.
No, but I mean, he came out and
God, I just
was kind of like
looking at him.
defending Chris Cuomo.
Brian Stelter.
But yeah, that's the guy. Oh golly. No, he was defending that. That guy is the worst on everything.
Him and Don Lemon.
Yeah,
they both suck.
He's supposed to be like this critic of the press or whatever. But all he does
is the press. Like he is the fucking press.
Literally the worst.
Yeah,
he's the worst. But and that's why no one watches CNN. So I mean, I don't really need to make any argument on that. It's a terrible. It's awful. But anyway, so. Yeah, there's that. I don't remember my point anymore.
CNN viewership chart. Let's see. I should probably do this on DuckDuckGo because anything I find is probably going to be bullshit.
But no, what were we saying? Yeah, Chris Cuomo. Yeah, everybody did forget about the whole like during the COVID
him giving his brother the answers to the questions that he would ask.
airtime. There's like talking about like I remember Mom made that pasta. It's like all right.
Yeah, they're just supposed to be the good old guys you can trust.
Yeah, right.
Come over, eat the mom's pasta, huh?
Yeah.
Look, just like quoting of the Italian thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever seen that? Like, it's a meme, but it's from a show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where it's like the scene where this Italian girl is like part of his police precinct, and she's trying to get something from someone, and she grabs it, and like this lady like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And she like starts just saying like Italian food names, and so like she sounds like she's saying a different language. Oh, it's great, dude.
Oh, that's funny. Oh man.
But
So one of the things that I found interesting too, as like everybody comes after DeSantis, because DeSantis is the guy to come after right now, right? Because he's the guy who's kind of making. Well,
he's like the new Trump almost. I feel like he's the guy with the target on his back now.
Yeah. I just find it interesting, and I've heard this brought up a couple of times. Is the fact that they attack DeSantis on everything, but like no one talks about Mississippi. And Mississippi is having like the same situation. Like they're having huge outbreaks. They're having huge coronavirus outbreaks and whatnot. But the difference there is the governor is liberal, which is a Democrat. So they don't bring it up. And also it's majority of the people who aren't vaccinated are minorities. Yeah, minorities. So. It's just interesting to see their play, Yep. And I mean, I don't need to reinforce the fact that the press is, in bed with the government, but
I think, I think that right now is like, we talk about libertarians, pushing, not pushing, but going after those like opportunities to make really, profound good points, and maybe this isn't the best way to, the best time or the best circumstance to do it, because I know a lot of Republicans are making, or some Republicans have been making this point, but New York City, for example, like we talked about earlier, Mayor de Blasio, he's putting in that mandate where basically if you want to go in any restaurant or business, you have to wear, you have to be vaccinated. Then you look at the numbers and it's like, minorities and children right now are the highest unvaccinated population. So it's like, this is one of those great opportunities to attack the left from the left, right? Like, okay, you for the last year, you've talked about systematic, racism and oppression and things like that. So we're just gonna we're gonna ignore that and go right back into that?
Yeah, I mean, a great point to be is 6-8 months ago when Georgia and a lot of other states were doing revamping their voting laws, if they didn't have ID requirements, they were putting ID requirements in, and the left, the media was like, you can't do this, this is gonna affect minorities more, blah blah blah, this is gonna, this is what we're talking about, this is racist. But like Nick just said, if in New York, most, a lot of the unvaccinated are minorities, or the bigger population comes from minority populations. This is the same exact thing.
Yeah.
The same people, and when I look at this stuff too, I don't really look at politicians too much because they're fucking just ugly actors, right?
Yeah.
I think I heard that just recently. It's just actors who aren't good looking enough to go to Hollywood.
Yeah, true.
So it's
that's actually a pretty good fucking point.
Yeah, this might be from Tim Dillon. He might have said that.
Tim Dillon. Oh my God.
Shout out. But if you look at actual actors, because they always get on their social media and grandstand and look at Georgia. What are they doing? Why isn't fucking LeBron James going off against de Blasio saying, "How are you doing this to the black community?" when they're the ones who are majority not vaccinated, so now they can't go to restaurants.
Dude, it's because
that's pure, and that's just if you look at that, even if you can obviously there's more nuance to it, just like any other topic, with the voting laws, and say, oh, it's not that, but still, if you look at just how they've been looking at it, this is blatant racism. If you look at it just from that point of view.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. There obviously is a lot of nuance in everything.
Correct.
And the left will bring that point up when it's convenient, right? Yeah. They're like, oh no, you can't, for instance, this. They'll whittle it down to it's a public emergency, whatever. That will be their, justification for it. But then in other circumstances, it's no, there's no nuance. This is racist.
Yeah. Right.
And it's as always, no one ever asked the question, like you were saying before, that the Georgia voting laws were, they called them racist and shit because I think the direct quote from Biden was, black people can't get or don't have internet or something, then they can't get, you know what I mean? It's okay, so the question isn't, is this new voting legislation, faulty or wrong or racist? The bigger question is, why the fuck can these people not get IDs?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, to me at least, I feel like that's a bigger problem than having to show your ID at a, voting poll. Right? I agree. It's like, why can't these people get IDs? Is it because your fucking agency is dog shit?
Yeah. Well, it's to respond to your point, Book, is that it's a narrative,
Yeah, fully.
It's just a narrative, and it gets played out, and people like LeBron James or whoever, silly actor or whatever has something to say, they just fall in line with the narrative. And dude, there is something to be said about that, okay? Because we brought up before the idea of, like, virtue signaling, right? And how, like, disgusting and hypocritical it is. But, like, that's all that is. You know what I'm saying? There's a narrative, and if you want to be in that narrative and you want to be praised by all the people who don't think outside the box but just think in line with the narrative, and you make whatever dumb point you make, even if it's wrong, right? Because LeBron James has got it wrong, right? I mean, we're talking about somebody who just, off the cuff said something stupid, and then comes out that it was totally, like, wrong, and he had to redact it or whatever. I don't think he ever apologized, but he redacted it. And it's like, but as long as it's in line with that narrative and whatever,
it'll get praised.
It will get praised.
Yeah.
And it's just virtue signaling. And it, you know what? Quite frankly, it's disgusting.
It is because you're from him specifically, from his standpoint, he has nothing to lose and everything to gain while doing nothing but making a statement.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you take one of the highest paid athletes on planet Earth, and what is he really doing besides, wearing, some special jersey or some special shoes, or, making a statement on an interview, or, kneeling at the national anthem? Like, okay, yeah, great, if let's just say, whatever cause you're fighting is righteous, is that really making a difference? Yeah. So, like, from his perspective, he's like, in his mind, he's like, oh shit, all I have to do is fucking take a kneel and I get all this support and, obvious money that comes with support when you're at that level of, athleticism. And, it's kind of sad that people can't see past that, because it's like, he's just doing it for the praise and the money and, everything that follows that.
Yeah, and, to kind of go off what you guys are saying about this.
And, real quick, and...
Go ahead.
And then, just think that, like, all of this, in his mind, systematic racism exists, oppression exists, cops are out there slaughtering black people. So he's making all this money on the backs of dead black kids, from his perspective. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you could whittle it down to. From his argument. I'm not saying that any of that is true. I'm just saying he believes all that's true. He does nothing but makes a couple statements, and he benefits from it.
Yeah.
And it's like so many people are blind to that reality, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true. And I think he might have an actual charity.
Yeah, you're right. He might. I say he does nothing, but a lot of that ends up just being tax write-offs and shit
exactly,
like that.
Which is fine. Like, hell, if I made enough money to have my own charity, I would pump shit ton of money through it and make myself the person that gets all the money. But I think he probably has a charity that does help a certain amount of people, which is great, right? He makes this money. He puts, I don't necessarily want to be like one of those people who's like, what percentage of it is an actual, like, who the fuck cares? He gives back a little bit. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's, no one's saying he has to, and he's doing it. But, like you said, everything he does, which is what you stated, Cameron, I'm drinking a lot of bourbon right now.
It's always the time of night.
Yeah, it's,
virtue signaling?
Thank you. Virtue signaling. He doesn't lose any money from that, right?
Yeah.
But, like, if you really want to stand for something, not that his charity doesn't help anything, like, he had his charity, great. But again, he doesn't lose any money from that. Or in the virtue signaling he does. But if he stood up against China, that would affect his dollar. And that would affect his wallet.
Which is why he never has.
And which I'm not going to be someone who's like, I'm morally superior than you, which is why I don't fucking lose any money if I say anything bad about China. But he does.
Yeah.
You're right? Like, fuck, like, who knows? If I was in position, I probably wouldn't say shit either.
Yeah,
but I would hope I wouldn't be hypocritical in the sense where I virtue signal too. But like if he like, it's one of those things where I guess the point I'm trying to make is like he has a charity, great. But if he really wanted to be like against the man, against the empire, against the regime, he would say shit about China and their camps they have where they put fucking Muslims in it and
Uyghurs and
they fucking take the women and make sure they can't have kids anymore. Right? But he doesn't do that.
Or the fact that North Korea exists solely on the premise that China is supporting it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that either. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think China's like its main supporter, right? Like it's the reason like nothing can happen to it.
Well, yeah, because
and besides,
so what happens
it's
is
like a big
right. China has a lot of mines in North Korea, and they leased that land to North Korea, however many hundreds of years ago. So all the slave labor from the North Koreans, it's all free for China. So they have the mines there, they get their resources, and they pay it back to the North Korean dictatorship, and that's so when I say North Korea exists because of China, that is why. Otherwise, like everyone thinks that like Kim Jong-un has all this power in North Korea. He's really just like he's like a puppet leader, basically.
He's Rocket Man.
Yeah, he's Rocket Man.
Remember that Trump called him that?
Yeah, no, I know.
That's fucking great.
Yeah.
So to keep it on the topic of virtue signaling, because this is a big issue for me because it's so hypocritical and fake
and hollow. Yeah,
and hollow. Like something that comes to mind is like so one of the biggest proponent arguments against like this sort of hypocritical behavior that I've experienced in my life is like throughout the Gospels, like Jesus is constantly making this point, right? He's constantly making this point against the Pharisees, right? The Pharisees, and I think this is in the Gospel of Matthew, but he's always making this point, like, look, they do things in public so that you see them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They bring, but it's all about the visual.
The image.
It's all about the image, and what he says is that is the reward. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like people seeing them, like that's all the reward they get.
Yep.
Like it's this very shallow. Like we know who they are. Like we know like where the heart is, and that's the point he's constantly making. Look, like if your heart is like I want people to see me do good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like that's all you get.
Right.
Like know that that's all your reward because like that's not legitimate.
Yeah.
That's not who you are. You're not principled in your belief system, and you're probably a crappy person.
Yep.
Because it's all about like
the visual, right?
People seeing you do
right. The perspective that people have of
exactly.
you, and this is a big thing. Excuse me. With a lot of the people, and this isn't to say that everybody who supports some of these like crazy ideas, it's not to say that they fall into this category, but this is a lot of what you see with these people that are like, what's the big deal? Just get a fucking vaccine, or like the people that are for the vaccine passports. It's like, typically it's like low status people, don't really have, much meaning in their life. And it's a way for them to just kind of like you said, have that visual like, oh yeah, like I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like people see me. People see that I care. Well, you know what I mean?
It's exactly right because, and the reason you know that is because they were the same people, like last year saying that, oh, when Trump gets his vaccine, who's going to take it?
Exactly.
So that's how you know that. You know that because they're flip-flopping. Because they want to be seen as the person who's doing the right thing.
They have no values or morals that they,
they're not grounded in anything.
Yeah, that's what I. Yeah, that's what I was
principled.
trying to say.
No, it's not. It's not a principled decision, and it's not. And it's not a decision from their heart.
It's based on the what is I guess viewed as morally sound in the specific time. So right now, it's, if you're for vaccine passports and you're for forcing people to get vaccinated, that doesn't mean you're fascist or that you don't believe in human, liberties. Yeah. It means that you care about grandma and grandpa getting sick and dying.
Right.
You care about the kids and, and that's the most important thing. And,
and
for everybody to see that, that just, that gives those people a sense of, meaning and moral superiority over you. But, keep in mind, these are the same people that think, if you don't get vaccinated, that you deserve to be shot, So, take that for what it is.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, God damn it, are you seriously?
What?
It's whiskey hour.
Yeah, it's whiskey hour. Virtue signaling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what we've been talking about is more left-leaning people will do it, but the right does it too.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
I know you guys, but I always like to bring that up just in case someone thinks, but
so in case any Republicans listen think we like you.
Yeah. Hey,
gotta remind you, we don't.
We want to make sure we just piss everybody off.
Yep.
When
gotta be consistent.
They put that the thin blue line up on Instagram, right? That was a big thing. Like that's just virtue signaling too, which is again, if you want to kind of bring this back into being reactionary, they're just reacting to what the left's doing because the left's putting up the black image on Instagram with a black square.
Oh,
so it's like you can't even virtue signal on your own things. You just react to their virtue signal.
Yeah. Your virtue signal is just you virtue signaling against what they're virtue signaling.
And so, I don't want to throw everybody in a box because, both sides like to put people in boxes.
Yeah, put them in a box and burn it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, he does that, so he's this. And I'm not into that. I don't like to put people in boxes. Like, the people who posted blue lines or black boxes, look, not all of them are bad. My challenge
unless you posted a thin blue line.
My challenge is to you is to think outside of whatever narrative your side is pushing. Okay? Think outside that box. Okay? Don't just jump on whatever narrative your side is pushing and just be like, okay, this is the right thing to say. This is the right thing to do in this situation. No, really consider what is the right thing to do. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Am I wrong?
I just came up with this new segment for you, Cameron, because I feel like every episode you have this nice little profound kind of tidbit of advice. Yeah. We're gonna call it Whiskey Wisdom with Cam.
Yeah,
and that was your Whiskey Wisdom for the evening. That's a good point.
Timestamp that. What time was that?
Yeah, because we talk a lot of shit about pretty much everybody. We're kind of shit talkers.
Yeah, that's why we only have 2 people listen to us.
Yeah,
actually 500,000.
Yeah, 500,002. You meant that, yeah. But no, we don't think everybody who posted a thin blue line is evil. Well, maybe not everyone here thinks that. And we don't think everyone who posted a little black square, you guys solved racism for after all. But no, like you said, we don't put everyone in a box, and I think that's fair to point out because, I think a lot of people. I think what it comes down to is a lot of people don't. They don't want to have to think for themselves, right? It's exhausting. I mean, there's so many things in life we have to do. You have to go to work. You have to wake up, make yourself breakfast, take care of the dog, get the kids out. It's exhausting. There's a lot to do. So on top of all that, I get it. A lot of people don't have time to do the research and to come up with their own opinion. So, a lot of people rely on people they respect, people they trust. You should never trust the media or the government, but a lot of people rely on the media and the government to provide them, fair information it takes the thinking work out. All they have to do is kind of come up with an opinion. But, so not, I guess in a long-winded way, I'm just reinforcing what you're saying. We don't think everyone who posted these things are bad people. I think it's just, a lot of people don't want to have to think, and a lot of people think that they're doing the right thing. How could supporting somebody's profession be, a bad thing? From the Republicans posting the, thin blue line. And, equally so from the left, how could supporting the police not killing people be a bad thing?
Right.
It's you're both right in a sense, right?
Right.
I think people should be able to, go to work and do their job and not be harassed. But with that being said, I don't think, being a cop is, maybe I should just stop myself. But,
no, you're making a good point.
Yeah.
When the black box came, I'm not racist. I don't want anybody to be racist.
Right.
And I also don't I'm not necessarily against cops.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I agree with those two premises.
Yeah.
It's just the fact when those, like, I don't post any of that garbage.
Yeah, me either.
Because there's so
I just
much,
post extremist content.
There's so much attached to it. There's so much attached to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to say more than what I believe.
Right.
Like, yeah, like in most situations, like I'm like, don't, like, I like the fact that there's like a 911 number and I can call them, you know, and I also don't like the idea of racism, right? So, like, I agree with those two premises. I don't want to agree with all the extra.
Yeah,
so I don't
exactly.
post it, right?
Right.
So that's where I'm at.
That's like the Black Lives Matter thing. Like, I agree with the sentiment.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
but I don't agree with the organization.
Right.
Right.
And and you know, I don't think that, black communities are being decimated by cops like, you know, the media is trying to make it out to be.
And that just goes to say, like, if you're an independent thinker, you're not so easily just jumping on wagons.
Yeah.
Like, when they pass by and you're like, oh, that looks good, let me jump on it. It's like, I'm not just going to jump on a wagon.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have to be like, I have to, like, really understand.
Now, what if there was a dick on that wagon?
Jump on that real quick.
No,
hop on the deal.
Wagons, whether or not there's dicks.
Take my pants off.
No.
Ass first.
No, if you're going to make a decision, I just think, you know, be educated on it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and that goes back to what I was saying. Nobody wants to think for themselves, so they don't bother being, you know, educated on it.
I've got a fair solution.
Is this another whiskey wisdom, or no?
No, I'm just... Well, this could be a little...
drop it, I'll decide. Okay. I'll be the arbiter of whiskey wisdom.
No, okay, so... I understand that it's difficult to be educated on these things.
Yeah.
Especially when you have life. When you have to go to work, you have to take care of your kids.
Yep.
But the solution I'm going to offer you is free.
Politics on the rocks.
There you go. That's... What do you think? Wisdom?
Yeah, that was wisdom.
Yeah, that was whiskey wisdom.
It seemed wise to me.
It was pretty wise.
We're at almost 2 hours. Shit.
All right.
This was supposed to be a short one.
Yeah, I just want to say something real fast.
It's never a short one. What are you talking about?
What are you going to say?
No, just to go off what you guys and like reinforce, because, you know, I want to talk. But, no, it's, you know, like Nick is saying, people, you know, in a sense, don't want to think for themselves, which is, you know, if you take offense to that, don't. It's like, why would you? If, like, again, you have kids, you have a life, like Nick said, like, it's easy, and it shouldn't be it shouldn't be every American's job to, like, have to, like, fight for everything. Like, that's not what you should be doing. Like, you know, and again, you could bring this back to, like, well, if government wasn't so big, and you had to get through all this volume, you wouldn't have to, like, be so involved to know all these things, which is true. But again, you know, you shouldn't have to be involved this much. But at the same time, just know that, like, you posting the thin blue line isn't, like, making, like, saving cops from, like, violence, or, like, saving cops from, like, being seen as, like, you know, devils. And in the same stance...
Yeah, you're just promoting the enemy of the state, but go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And in the same stance, like, posting a black square, you're not like, eradicating racism from doing that.
No.
Like, you even thinking that's happening, like...
Well, Aunt Jemima taking her off the bottle, that for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Racism. Keep going. You're making a good point. Keep going.
Sorry, I'm a little drunk, guys.
You're putting a little too much into me now.
No, go for it, dude.
No.
Send it.
But yeah, so it's like one of those things where, like, you're not doing anything by doing that. Besides, again, like, and this has been stated by many people, by many different people, you're echoing in this echo chamber, right? You're just shoving your fist up to the people who are going to shove their fist up to you, saying, "Oh, you're great,
yeah.
right?" And which is fine. Like, we as human beings,
shake your hand.
Yeah, we as human beings like that, and like it's understandable why people do that. But it's like, if you think that's the like all you have to do, great. But if you think there's more to do, and you think like racism really is bad, or like cops are like, you know, being seen as the devil and they don't have to be, or they shouldn't be, like, why not go a step further? And maybe it's because, again, you have the family, you have kids, you have all these aspects. Then why do you get bothered in this? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
Like,
no, that's
like,
that's a I like that. I like that. Well, that little ending, little snippet you added there. If you're gonna choose to not think for yourself, why are you being involved?
Yeah.
Like, leave it to the people that actually give a fuck, that are actually putting the time in to educate themselves. Like,
yeah. And again,
like you said, I get it. Like, you don't want to be the one to, like, have to think and make these hard decisions. Don't. Just stay the fuck out of the way of the people who do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, again, like, if this makes you feel better, great. I'm not saying, obviously, I'm not going to, like, dictate what you can or can't do, but, like, it's just one of those things where, like, this does nothing but get back to the point to where these are the things that probably, unfortunately, divide us more as a country via the internet. Is like these hard stances people take, because once you take this stance, then the other side takes that stance, and like you guys are like, fucking see that blue line, fuck that, we're gonna post my black square more, or like you know, whatever they're gonna do. And it's like what does this do? Like we're just like pissing in the same hole.
You're making a good point, man, because
that's the whiskey.
It's the whiskey. The whiskey wisdom is coming out all over the place.
I'm stealing some of your whiskey wisdom.
But just you said make a step further or don't make this step at all, and just to post anything is not really even making a step at all, is it? Really?
No, probably not.
It's not doing anything.
Yeah,
you know, and that's.
I mean, no one who's truly racist is gonna like wake up one morning, brush their teeth, flip open that Instagram, and be like, "Fuck, man, there's a lot of black squares on here. I guess I'm a piece of shit." Like, no, I guess I shouldn't be racist anymore.
Yeah, my point exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And that comes back to having, like, I mean, I don't come into contact with a lot of racist people. I'm gonna be honest with you. But if I were to come into contact with them and like I could have a real conversation, that's where I may get the opportunity to influence them to not be racist, not by posting a black square.
Yeah,
that's the truth. And yeah, and I had a point, and it just flew right out the screen porch.
That's right at the whiskey.
Yep.
And vice versa, right? If you come to contact with someone who's like, the police are brutalized, and like they have to be like funded more, and you're like, yeah, I mean, if I had contact with someone who really thought that, I could be like, sit down and be like, all right, well, I mean, to get this much funding and like all this, you could like sit down and actually have a conversation and be like,
yeah, like, are you forgetting the fact that like it was the police that like shut your churches down and
correct,
you know, hunted you down for protecting your business when Black Lives Matter protesters were burning it down?
Yeah,
and,
I mean, like,
you know,
do you think the police really need to spend like X millions of dollars on like ATVs and armored vehicles?
Yeah, or like, you know, when they, you know, if it ever comes the day that they ban assault rifles, like it's going to be the police to come and get them, and like, you know. But hey, that one guy, his cousin, whose brother-in-law is a cop, that, you know, that guy said he'll never do it. So, you know, they must not never do it.
Yep.
The point I was going to make, and I know we're getting to the end of this thing because we can't finish our thoughts, but is and this is just a quote Post Malone, nonetheless.
Ooh.
In a Joe Rogan episode, Joe Rogan asked him a question, and I thought this was super profound, right? Joe Rogan asked him a question about something that he felt like was beyond his knowledge, and he said, "Look, man, how old is Post Malone?
He's probably like 26.
He's like,
no, I think he's younger. I think he's like 24, 25.
He's super young. Yeah.
Yeah,
so he's like,
far away.
He's like, bro, he's like, I'm 23. He's like, I can't comment on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, a celebrity like looking at himself and being like,
I don't know.
Like, I don't know the response to that. Like, I'm not like, I wasn't around. And I'm not educated enough.
Right, like, so I'm like, a fucking rapper, like...
Yeah, like I like make music.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's what I do. Like, I don't, like, study
I don't obsess over the news, like, you know,
yeah, and
politics
so, like,
on the rocks
so, like, that
you.
response was profound.
Yeah.
Because it was like, wow. Like, why? Like, we need more people like that.
Well, because a lot of it is, like, you know, you don't become a celebrity or a politician without being a sociopath, you know? Like, you've got to be obsessed with yourself so much so that you think that you should be, this is more so, you know, directed to politicians. Like, you have to be a little bit of a sociopath to think you know what's best for, you know, millions of people.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but in this situation, like, that was super profound.
Yeah, no, I know, that's what I'm saying.
It
like,
was the opposite of that.
Right,
it was like
and that's
somebody
huge.
saying, like, you know what, dude, I write music, I'm 23, like, I don't know how to respond to that question.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to think about that. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I like Post Malone, man. He's cool. He's everything I've seen about him, I'm like, he's never, Post Malone's the shit. That, and he's like, a lot of people don't know, he's like really big in the gun industry.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he like, you know, he's got like all kinds of Gucci guns and like trains with some like pretty badass dudes. Got like night vision and all that shit. Like,
yeah. It was just cool to see somebody make
Hey, he's down to fuck around, you know what I'm saying? All right, any closing statements? This is going on 2 hours and I'm fucking whoop.
Yeah, I'm doing this next podcast naked. Because it's hot as mess out here.
Naked podcast?
Yeah,
I'm down for it.
I just keep losing clothes.
Are we wearing loincloths or just straight butts on
I think next podcast,
we
should all choose how many pieces of clothing we're wearing, and it's up to the listeners to find out who's naked or not.
I think we should wear togas.
Okay.
That's like a lot of clothes.
Is it? That looks
I mean, like it is, but it isn't. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm down to wear a toga, I'm just saying.
All right.
All right.
All right, yeah.
So, what? Government bad, taxes evil?
That's it.
And also, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff.
There we go.
Yeah, that's it.